I want to reach out to those of you who describe yourselves as Jesus followers planning to vote for Donald Trump, or if you're an undecided voter. As followers of Jesus, our interest is not a particular party. The question that Jesus asks us to consider is, who do we belong to? Who do we think of as our people? Howard Thurman was a thinker, teacher, and writer. In the middle of the 1930s, he and his wife and another couple were the first delegation of Black leaders to go to India to conduct interfaith dialogue. While Howard was there lecturing throughout the country, he ran into several scholars, most notably Gandhi. And these scholars would say, Howard, we're so thankful for your scholarship. We find you to be a brilliant person. But what we can't understand is, why are you still a Christian? When it comes down to it, Christianity has done nothing for people with brown skin. And so it became Howard Thurman's life work to answer this question in all of his writings, all of his teachings, to explain who is Jesus for the person, as he describes it, the person whose back is against the wall. And as he does this, he's not just trying to single out people of color. He's trying to appeal to how all of us can identify with our deep need for God's help. In the first chapter of his most classic text, Jesus and the Disinherited, Howard Thurman offers this reflection. Too often, he says, the price exacted by society for security and respectability is that the Christian movement, in its formal expression, must be on the side of the strong against the weak. Thurman's fundamental question is, how is it that a faith built out of a Jesus who died for us, who identified himself first with the criminal, with the widow, with the sick, with the outcast, how is that faith used primarily as a tool of oppression? And I know there's a lot of things to be afraid about in our world today. A lot of our political choices are often reactions against what seems dangerous. But in this last week before the election, I'd like you to consider that Jesus is inviting us to a posture of weakness and sacrifice for the sake of our neighbors. So I'm not trying to convince you to align with a particular political party. I'm asking you to look deep inside of yourself and to believe that Jesus, the faith of following him, is a faith primarily where we look out for our brothers and sisters, our neighbors, even to our own expense. Some of my closer white friends who have power and privilege will say, Josh, the important thing is that I can make extra money and then it's out of my wealth that I can help the poor. The problem with that, says Howard Thurman, is that creates within us a sense of missionary endeavor, which places us over the despised with a certain kind of contempt for them. But then we can develop within ourselves a sense of grandeur. And he says, on one hand, self-righteousness, and on the other hand, racial superiority on the other. And so that might be great for you to have your wealth and to use that in what you understand to be benevolent ways. But the fundamental question of following Jesus is, if I can find in others brotherhood and sisterhood, that I come alongside the person whose back is against the wall, because I also have within myself a deep, desperate need for God's help. So when it comes to your politic and your vote, I'm not trying to ask you to do anything crazy radical that's beyond what Jesus said when he invited us to take up our cross, to die to ourselves and to follow him, or what Paul said in Philippians 2, to consider others as better than ourselves. Amen.